Hello, Kent Philpott again in our series Santeria, From Slavery to Slavery. This is number 7. Number 7. I'm going to start with the Bembe, B-E-M-B-E. I'm conscious that I've never been good at pronouncing words, especially Yoruba words, and please forgive me if I get it wrong. And because I miss a pronunciation doesn't mean that everything else is wrong. It's interesting. I got some feedback from the previous videos questioning my, well, not questioning, but stating I'm messing up on my pronunciation and dismissing me as a result. That's a little bit shallow, I think, a little bit disingenuous. But anyway, I will miss a few pronunciations. But here we are, the Bembe. That's B-E-M-B-E. A Bembe is a party. Sometimes held out of doors for the public to view, which is trying to do that, kind of make it more acceptable in American culture, take away the mystery a little bit. But most often are held at a house church, Ili, or temple of the Santeria or Santeria. It is a party filled with African-style drumming and dance. Now the drumming and the dance is huge. It's, I think, the first time I've mentioned it, but it is a very large part of it. And the drums are very interesting. The bata, the 3 drums that are specially used to pound out those intricate, complex African rhythms. And we find a lot of these rhythms and so on showing up in contemporary music. Various bands take advantage of that. Some like Sublime are even apparently a part of Santeria. And it's interesting that it is a way of evangelizing. It's an attraction. It's very complex, wonderful kind of music, I am told. I have heard some of it. But it is often used to attract people to Santeria. So this is where it's the Bembe, the heart of the religion takes place. Special dancers and drummers are used. The drums are said to have ashi in them. That's the way they're constructed. I read through a thing about how these drums were constructed. Very complicated, and just wasn't rolled off an assembly line by any means. But that the drums have ashi in them, and the ashi and the praise of the participants, and often derisive things that are said. It's said like, well, name an Orisha, you're not going to show up, you're no good, etc. And it's get them to be upset so that they'll come down. Interesting, they'll sort of descend. So you have the drumming and the dancing and the derisive statements, all intended to bring the Orishas, so the Orishas will show up. That's what sometimes they use, so the Orishas will show up. And show up and join the party. It is evident when the Orishas show up. The dancers appear to become possessed. Now these aren't just anybody. They are selected people that ordinarily do this, and they're identified by the community and honored and respected by the community because they're going to be possessed by Orisha. The dancers appear to become possessed and take on the individual Orisha character traits. The Orishas have various things that they do, ways they move, ways they dance, ways they talk, and so on. And these are imitated and copied, and all of a sudden the dancer, possessed by the Orisha, and the onlookers can tell what Orisha is possessing this individual. Joseph Murray calls this a harmony of the human and the divine in dance and joy. I challenge that designation strenuously, but that's how he views it. The drumming assists in calling the Orishas to the party, to possess the dancers who will go into a trance when so possessed. Now when that happens, onlookers might come up to them and ask them for counsel and for advice. Or the dancer might go up to them and supposedly the Orisha tells somebody something that's happening to them, or is going to happen to them, or is happening to so-and-so. sometimes some very interesting and troubling things, I understand. So that's the Bembe. Those are the big parties. A lot of people can be involved in. There are a lot of animal sacrifices, and the animals are used and cooked and eaten. Next, then that moves right into the Ebo, E-B-B-O-S, Ebos. Ebos are food offerings to the Orishas. They may be herbal baths, in which you take some herbs and put some water and sort of make up a liquid with the herbs in it. Animal sacrifices, or whatever else may be requested by the Orishas through divination. Ebos are not bribes, it is said, though some are offered to secure the goodwill of an Orisha. Mostly Ebos, according to Santeria, are for the creation of Ashi, that power of the Orishas necessary to help the petitioner. There are 9 different kinds of Ebos, all the way from food offerings to offerings made to make holy the very objects set aside for the offerings. Very complicated. I read through the 9. I decided not to go through them. Candles are lit, and various plants are burned, like tobacco in the form of cigars. These offerings are said to release large quantities of ashi, but the amount of ashi released by these are small in comparison to the ashi obtained from the blood from the animal sacrifices. According to the religion, the Orishas themselves would determine what animals are to be sacrificed and what parts of the animals are to be offered by way of the priests and priestesses using divination. In other words, the Santero and the Santera, they will maybe use the seashells, the cowrie shells, the coconut shells, the palm nuts, the cola nuts, and various forms of the chain that is often used, but mostly by the Babaloa, the chain, and so somehow the Orisha is, through this form of divination, communicates to the one who is doing the divination, the Santera, what offerings are to be offered. Some of the animals typically offered are rooster, opossum, pigeon, female goat, white dove, white canary, white chicken, male goat, monkey, sheep, oxen, deer, bull, turtle, rabbit, quail, horse, guinea hen, pig, snake, duck, ram, fish, turkey, owl, and more. Wow. The Orishas have their favorites, which are spelled out in charts, but always memorized by the Santeros and Santeras. So you find out what Orisha is to be honored and what the sacrifice is. Blood sacrifices are necessary because the Orishas are said to be alive and must therefore eat. The Orishas are living, right? They have to be fed. That's fed these various things, the herbs, the plants, the blood of the animals. The blood of the animals is sprinkled or poured on the stones or otanes, that's O-T-A-N-E-S. These will be explained a little further along in this essay, which are the most tangible representation of the Orishas on earth. The Orishas must be fed, which happens when the blood strikes them, that is the stones, and thus ashi is created to be used. In Western countries, since people are offended by the animal sacrifices, especially when dead animal carcasses service in the neighborhoods like at crossroads, that's a big place, and other public places, there's less and less this kind of ritual. This is part of the effort by Santeria to become more acceptable in America particularly. Now spells, we're going to talk about spells. Spells and curses are common with voodoo, but are found in Santeria as well. The religion is power-based, controlling and using it for the benefit of the practitioners of the faith. For example, for those involved in criminal court cases, a special powder is used to obtain the help of an Orisha that specializes in such things. The use of the powder is said to either win a not guilty verdict or to simply have the subject released from custody. This is why those involved in criminal activity are attracted to La Santa Muerte, the Holy Dead, a subset of Santeria. I had a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I had people also agree. An interesting example of a common spell for women in Santeria is the following, quote, and this is quoted from De La Torre. If a woman wishes to seduce a man, she can take 7 earthworms, some of her menstrual blood, a dash of her feces, hair from her head and pubic hair, and place them in the sun to dry. When they are dried, she can grind them into a fine powder and place the powder in the man's food or drink. Sounds romantic to me. That's the way to establish a relationship by magic spells. Adura, and this is the last one for this series. Adura is a prayer, but with a twist. Since some orishas have certain powers others do not, the proper selection of orisha to pray to is important. Had a little power let down there. And so you have to know the proper one to pray to. For instance, the orisha Babalu'i is best for healing, so the Adura, which is the Yoruba word for prayer, is addressed to Babalu'i. All right, that is the end of session number 7.